Okay, this one is tie up some loose ends, right? So you can imagine some pieces of thread that are like, like you have a blanket, right? And you've got some threads coming off of the blanket, and you don't want them to go any further, so you tie them up, right? Or yarn or something like that. Like you got a sweater and you've got a piece of yarn and you want to tie it up, maybe. Uh, or if you have a ship, right? And ships have a lot of, uh, especially the older, like sailboat ships, would have a lot of ropes, right? And you would have to tie these up because you couldn't have these ropes just hanging everywhere, right? Because they're dangerous. So you would have these ropes that they use for the sails and to tie two boats together and whatever. And so you would have these extra ropes, and you would have to sort of tie them up, so that they're not going to cause any problems. All right. So tie up some loose ends is like to take care of the final stages of something. So, first, how is this used? All right. I'm going to give you a real case of how it's often used. I used to go riding around with my mother, single mother, and I was the youngest one, so it was usually me and her riding around because my other siblings had grown up, right? So it was just me and her. And I would be sitting in the passenger seat, and the way this small town community, and there's really just nothing like it. It was so small that you could stop in the middle of the road and have a conversation with somebody, and you didn't have to worry about traffic coming because just there was nobody coming. And if they might come, then you would just move. But you just had a conversation, and so my mom would stop the car. We would see a family we knew or a person that we knew. She would stop. They would smile, and then she'd stop, and they'd stop, and they'd roll down the window, old style, right? With these gigantic handles, right? Roll down the window, gigantic. Everything was gigantic, and so my mom would say, "Hey, Henri," right? And Henri means bad person, right? But it's a way of teasing each other. You don't always want to say, "Hey, brother," or "Hey, good friend." We would do it the opposite way. It's more fun, right? To say, "Hey, Henri, you're a bad person," right? I'm sure they do that in other cultures, right? I guess they do, right? But that's the way we do it. And so she would say, "Hey, Henri," and my mom would say something like, or one of them would say, "Are you working hard or hardly working?" Okay, and I made a video about that. That's a very common expression. Are you working hard or hardly working? And the other person might say, "What are you up to?" And I know for sure that other languages have that, which is something like, "The weather's nice. Where are you going?" And it's just, it sounds kind of nosy, but it's just conversation. It's just conversation. Where are you going? All right. But their question might be, "What are you up to?" It's just talking, right? And in order to be sort of ambiguous and not clear, my mom would say, "I'm just going to go run some errands." I did a video about that, which is running around and doing small things. Tie up some loose ends. So tie up some loose ends, which means you're finishing a task, right? So let's say she got the electric bill and she put the check in the envelope and she sealed it, but she hasn't mailed it yet. And then she's got to go pay the TV repairman for repairing our TV, or you know, get, let's say, for example, just sign some kind of contract, right, with a lawyer or something like that. You know, do finish some tasks, right? Tie up some loose ends. Okay. Now, let me show you some examples that I found on the internet, and they're really, this is actually very, very good, the definition of this. This is not a very rare idiom, right? Sometimes I have to do expressions that are not that rare for people who don't know many idioms. Okay. All right, so to complete parts of something that have not been completed. All right. So we still have to tie up some loose ends of the project. So let's say this project is a company merger. So two companies have agreed to merge, and the money has transferred, or yeah, there's probably going to be a money transfer. They have to tie up some loose ends to decide like, let's say two companies merge. So they made the deal. They went down to the government office and filled out the documentation to tell the government they're going to merge. And maybe some money has transferred, but they still have two people in the same job of the two companies. Like, let's say they've got this guy, he's a human resource manager, and this is a human resource manager. They don't need two. So which one's going to be the boss? Which one's going to get fired, right? That's a kind of a loose end. They have to maybe relocate. So they have to, let's say, remodel the office. That's a big loose end, but there's lots of little loose ends that need to be tied up. Little things that need to be completed. Like, where are they going to store the documents of all of the previous employees? There's just so many little things in a merger. Lots and lots of loose ends. Okay, so let's go to another example. Okay, yeah, if you guys have ever written anything, I've written academic papers, and when you write an academic paper, you've got to get the basic thing that tell your story of what you researched, or what you think, or what you found when you studied other people's work. And then you write this, and then you make your citations of which other articles that you want to refer to. But there's so many little things. So the editor will come back and say, oh, this citation is wrong, you need to do this. And there's so many little things. They'll say, did you mean to say this? And there's so many little things. So you've got the basic article, and the editor comes back and forth with the little bitty things that need to be clarified, right? And maybe one page number is wrong, right? Page number is wrong, and things like that. So little things, little details. When my grandfather died, he left his estate to his 4 children, and so they sold the estate so that they weren't worried about, oh, you get the picnic table, and you get the dog, and you get the trash can, they don't do that, right? They sell the entire estate, but they have to go in, meet the lawyer, sign the papers, and sign agreements, and then give bank account information for where they're going to transfer it. So it's just small little tasks. Tie up some loose ends, okay? I don't know if I want to make this video longer. I'll go ahead and just do this little thing that I set up. All right, I'm going to try to make these videos shorter, just for my own reasons. All right, for the reasons that I think will work better for you guys. Okay, they needed to tie up some loose ends.
With my friends to tie up some loose ends, but I'll be back. The alcohol.
I have some loose ends to tie up this week.
Okay, basically what I said. Okay, and running errands and tying up some loose ends has some overlap. A lot of times an errand is to tie up a loose end. Okay, so anyway, it's a way of saying that you need to do a lot of things, little things, without saying exactly what you're going to do. So I will talk to you on the next idiom.